Welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast, the only podcast that's perfectly balanced, as all things should be. My name is Isaac Edlin. I am your host, and I have one other Infinity Bro with me. It's Zane Ellis.
Hello, I'm doing well. Happy to be here. It's another Zane and Isaac mess around.
Good old Zane and Isaac mess around,
leading the pack.
Yeah, absolutely. Zane, we used to poke fun at you for not being on the podcast a lot, and I feel like if we added up the amount of appearances between Infinity Bros, you're climbing the list.
Oh, easy.
You gotta be at least number 3 on the list at this point.
At least. I'm top 6.
You're top 6.
I'm top
sure.
6.
Right, exactly. I feel like the last year and a half, you've been on a good, at least 75% of the episodes we've had. Because it's been you and me for probably 50% of those episodes.
It's been me and you a lot.
We're manning the podcast side of things while Robbie holds down the fort on Drip and TikTok and Instagram and all that good stuff. So yeah, it's been a good couple of years with you climbing up the ranks in the Infinity Bros.
It's been fun. It's always a good time, You never know what you're going to get.
For those of you guys who have not listened to the Infinity Bros, we're a group of 6 guys who love pop culture. We love superheroes. We love Star Wars. We love nerdy things. And we started basically just coming together and thought, you know what? We should just record this for the internet to hear. And here we are. We're almost on episode 200. This is 199, Zane. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, when you sit and think about it, you're like, yeah, I never would have thought we've been at, 200. But yeah, we're crossing that bridge. It's right in front of us.
Yeah, over 5 years of podcasting and nearly 200 episodes. So you could say we're veterans at podcasting. Definitely doesn't make us much better at podcasting. But what we still do is have a lot of fun. So you might hear me or Zane on an episode. You might hear Mark and his wild conspiracy theories. You might hear Jarrett teaching us about comic book characters. You might hear Max or Robbie with their terrible takes. There's a lot of different variety to hear on the Infinity Bros podcast, and we are so glad that you guys have all stuck with us this long. We would encourage you guys to go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you're listening to the Infinity Bros podcast. Please leave us a rating and a review, because that helps push this podcast a lot further than we could ever do by shouting it out on social media or doing anything like that. The rating and reviews help a bunch, and we would love it if you guys be able to do that for us. So thank you in advance, and buckle up, because this is an episode of basically 100% shenanigans. Usually we talk about and review TV, movies, video games, that kind of stuff. And we're in this weird lull of nothing coming out really that we're super interested in. So we don't really have anything to review today, Zane. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I feel like there's always something. And that's usually like when we have an episode, there's something to talk about.
Right. There's always some TV show that's going on that we could at least talk about a few episodes or something, And now we're just like, we're in this weird lull where we're waiting for all these banger shows to drop in June, like The Boys, The Acolyte, The Bear, all of those, and House of the Dragon. A lot of things happening this summer. So Max, our good Infinity Bro Max, gave us a suggestion to talk about Summer Blockbusters today. So that is what we're going to be talking about with a few different topics. But number one thing that we're going to talk about is some nerd news.
Hey, Zane, I was looking into getting into this Gunpla thing. There's one called the Unicorn Banshee. What the heck is that all about? Actually, Jarrett, what you're thinking of is RX-0 Unicorn Gundam 2 Banshee, which is from the Mobile Suit Gundam. Actually, you know what? It's time for nerd news.
All right, Zane, buckle up. We've got a long list of nerd news that actually all of this stuff I've seen in the last 2 days, basically. Oh. So this is all pretty fresh.
All right.
You may have not even heard of some of these.
Oh my goodness.
So here we go. It's gonna
buckled in.
Buckled in. It's gonna be a wild ride. We also do review things on the Infinity Bros podcast, and we want to make sure that what that's all about. So we'll play our rating bumper right here.
Here on the Infinity Bros podcast, everything is ranked from a 0 to 6 point scale. 0 meaning horrible, and 6 meaning absolutely excellent. If all of the Infinity Bros rank something a 6, it gets an Infinity Step.
So if you hear us refer to something as a number, that is our rating system. We might end up rating a few things on this nerd news. We'll see what happens. But number one thing, Zane, so we're talking about summer blockbusters. And the big one that we're anticipating in 2024 is Deadpool and Wolverine. That is coming in July. It is going to be wild. The promotional campaign has already been wild. And speaking of the promotional campaign, Ryan Reynolds and others promoting the campaign came out with a new popcorn bucket, which we have we've thrown a couple pictures up in chat. They announced a while back that they were going to do a popcorn bucket, and everybody's like, funny, because the whole Dune popcorn bucket was like a little mini online sensation type of thing. And then they actually did it. They came out with a popcorn bucket that is pretty wild. I don't even have a whole lot of other terms to describe it, but it is basically Wolverine's face with the hole for the popcorn being his mouth. And I will not say a whole lot more than that. I will leave it up to your imagination. They put out a promotional video revealing it, and had melted butter running down his face, and it was very wild and very on point.
Very on point for what this movie is. Like, the whole the Dune popcorn bucket was like unintentional, and you're just like, I don't get what the point of that was. Then the internet made it hilarious.
Yes.
Now we have this was intentionally made to be hilarious.
Completely intentional.
Completely the opposite way. And it's still, the internet's going to run with it. And it's totally on brand for what this is.
And it's going to continue. But if you had any doubts that Deadpool and Wolverine was going to be held back by Disney, this is unequivocal proof that is not going to happen, because this is a obviously Disney-backed movie that has some very strong implications that is not Disneyfied at all. Some interesting things to look forward to in the promotional campaign. And I think we may have mentioned it on a previous episode, but they started playing promotional ads for Deadpool and Wolverine in movie theaters now. If you go to an R-rated movie, you will hear Deadpool and Wolverine telling you to shut your effing phone off multiple times. So the promotional campaign is in full swing for Deadpool and Wolverine. Do you think this is the movie that's going to make the most money this year, Zane?
I don't see what's going to beat it.
Yeah.
I don't see anything else that can top it. Like, not only of the hype that it's been built, the fact that like people have just been clamoring to have like a good, like a superhero movie that like you want to go see. The MCU's just been kind of on a downswing a bit. Like, this is kind of a big moment, not only for kind of getting the proverbial like comic book movies back on track, but this is just going to be a big movie because everyone's hyped about this. The marketing, everything about this has been very well done, and I think people just want to go see it, because even just as a casual fan, you can connect to this, because the first two Deadpool movies were fantastic.
And even people that have not been like big superhero fans, I feel like are drawn to this movie because of Hugh Jackman coming back as Wolverine. I feel like that was the big splash. I mean, obviously that got announced years ago now, but man, it's crazy that it's coming to a head and we're seeing these trailers with him in it as Wolverine. It is just bonkers. And I feel like that's the thing that's going to get people to see this movie, whether they're superhero fans or not. I think this is very, very high potential to make over $1 billion, which again, for an R-rated movie is wild. Obviously, you either need to have parental supervision or is it 17, I think, to see an R-rated movie? I don't remember what the age is. 17 or 18 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So that limits ticket sales initially, but I think one of the Deadpool movies made $1 billion. I don't remember which one it was. It had been done before. Oppenheimer almost made $1 billion last year. I think it slowed down at like 950 million. So like it has happened before, but it is not very common to see an R-rated movie cross $1 billion. This one, it's almost like a sure thing that this is going to cross $1 billion. Like, I think anyways. It's like you said, I don't know what else could beat it, because like Dune Part 2, I feel like is kind of everybody's big movie this year, and that I think last time I heard it was like 600-700 million. Like it still is not close to $1 billion, and I think theater going in general just seems to be on the downtrend this year. Like we just aren't seeing people going to the theaters because stuff is just coming out on streaming like a month later. So why not save, $20 and see it in your home where you're comfortable?
It's that big movie that has enough draw that will get people to the theater. And that's what this movie is going to be, because everyone's going to want to go see it. And not only does everyone of wanting to go see it, but it's going to kind of have what like the Avengers and kind of that late of the MCU stage. People want to go see it because you don't want to get spoiled on anything. Yeah,
true. This is going to be a massive spoiler movie for sure. Like, back when Endgame was coming out and there was that massive campaign online, because like Endgame was kind of when spoilers started being a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think before that, the internet was just like generally like respectful of that kind of stuff. Nowadays, it's like the next day. It's on the internet. It's all over the timeline. You see it whether you're trying to avoid it or not. Now that they have and Ryan Reynolds put out a post probably a couple months ago now, like saying, please do not spoil this for people. Like basically begging people to keep all this stuff a secret. It'll be interesting to see how long that lasts, because there were definitely some trolls out there for Endgame that were like, intentionally spoiling things for people. But now the culture is just shifted to seeing that stuff so quickly online that I don't know how it's going to go. You're going to have to get to the theater probably that first opening weekend to avoid all spoilers for that movie. And they've said multiple times too, like there's a ton of stuff in this that will be spoiled. So like you got to watch this one early. Deadpool and Wolverine, it's going to be fun. Some wild popcorn buckets. And I wonder too if they're going to come out with a Deadpool one, because obviously that's just the Wolverine one that we got. So we'll see what happens. But that's the one that got revealed today. So that's probably enough. Will they stop with that? Probably not. They're probably
exactly
for draining all this for all it's worth. Wild stuff. All right, next bit of nerd news, Zane. This is going to interest you slightly. As a fellow Jurassic Park fan, Mahershala Ali might be paying a visit to Isla Nublar. The Oscar-winning actor is in talks to join the new Jurassic World sequel, which is in development at Universal. He has not signed to join the cast yet, but already announced has been Scarlett Johansson, Jonathan Bailey, Manuel Garcia Rolfo, and Rupert Friend. So there's already a pretty decent cast on this. Mahershala Ali is fantastic in anything he's in. He would be an amazing addition. The question about this to me is, what does that mean for Blade? Because we have been hearing so much junk about Blade that it's just getting pushed back. New directors, new script. Mahershala is still connected to Blade at this point, but I don't think we're going to get this until like late 2026 or later even, because it seems like no progress has been made. And I don't think it's him like jumping ship, because like you can make it work if you really wanted to, be in those, like just look at Nicolas Cage, like dude's in 6 movies a year. If you really want to make it work, you can make it work. I don't know, man. What do you think about this? Obviously you're a big Blade fan too. So what does this mean to you?
All right, hear me out. Vampire dinosaurs.
You're getting me a little excited.
Shows up as Blade to fight the vampire dinosaurs.
He plays Blade in the Jurassic World sequel.
And they all connect. They all tie in.
Love that. So Blade is really a sequel to the next Jurassic World movie, is what you're saying.
Yeah, well, because instead of, then at the end, it won't be like Jurassic World. You'll see the sign, and that'll actually be the Savage Lands, and then the villain will be Sauron.
Dude,
I mean-
okay. And then at the end of the movie, Mahershala Ali, who has been going by whatever name, literally just is like, I don't like that anymore. Call me Blade.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's
Exactly.
And then there's some electric guitar riffing credits.
Mm-hmm. No, actually, it'll be like a final like showdown, and they'll take the inspiration from Halo, and like he'll get stabbed, and then he's like trying to like come back to get back on his feet, and they're like, oh no, what are you gonna do? And he's like, I'm gonna give him back his blade, and he pulls out the knife and then goes and stabs that guy, and then it cuts to the end credits and just Blade
will return.
Blade will return.
Oh my gosh. We're geniuses.
Listen to us.
Universal and Disney, like, you guys need to get on this. This is
Kevin Feige, reach out to us. We got ideas.
It's a good thing Kevin listens to our podcast.
But on like the serious, like I think it should kind of get pushed back. I think the kind of MCU and Disney in general right now is kind of at a point of they need to refigure out what they're doing. If they're going to come out with a Blade content, like it needs to be good. Like it could work as like a show, but I think as a character, it should be a movie. But it needs to be good, and it needs to like tie into what they're going on. Like It's been such a downswing, and Marvel and Disney's trying to do too much. So for me personally, I'd rather them sit on it and wait a bit longer to make a good Blade, either show or movie, instead of just putting it into this content mill of just trying to throw stuff out and then it just being like meh.
Yeah.
Like, no, just take your time.
Yeah.
Get stuff set. Figure out what you're doing.
And Blade is one of those, I feel like, that doesn't need to be mainstream MCU.
Right.
Blade can be like, or what do they call it? I think they call it like Spotlight series. They started with Echo. It can be one of those like side quest type stories. Blade doesn't need to like show up in other MCU projects. I mean, hey, it would be cool if he did.
Right.
But you don't need to create the script based on the MCU.
Right.
Just make a good script and then tie it to the MCU.
Right.
And then, Secret Wars. Like, we could get everybody in Secret Wars.
Well, even still, like, it doesn't even have to go to that degree. Like, you can kind of run kind of the side stuff. Because, like, I mean, look how good Werewolf by Night was.
Right, yeah.
And, like, that's 100% kind of that same vein.
That's right in that vein. Exactly,
right.
Yeah, that would
like,
be perfect.
You can run right along those lines, keep it in that vein. And it kind of has its own, I don't know if you want to say self-contained story, but it in a way it does. Because even from a lot of, like, the Blade comics, like, I know there's one big arc where this like group of vampires like infiltrate S.H.I.E.L.D. And so kind of just like how Hydra did, but the story is vampires. And so like this whole arc is him going and taking out these S.H.I.E.L.D. agents that have been turned to vampires, but it doesn't affect overall S.H.I.E.L.D. It's just he's targeting just the specific ones that have been turned into vampires. So like everything else is still going on, all the main superhero stuff, but this is his own, like they do kind of a decent job in kind of the comics of separating kind of this whole vampire undead type world that Blade lives in. Right. It runs parallel kind of to the main universe and branches over, but it's still kind of its own thing. And
you kind of have that like Midnight Suns connection too, with like all of the cosmic or like mystical powered people as well. Like they're kind of in that same realm, but not necessarily a part of that world.
Right.
There's been rumors about a Midnight Suns movie. Marvel has acquired the rights to like the name, the Midnight Suns, for like a film title. So like that potentially could happen down the road, which would be amazing. But definitely think they need to focus on Blade and making that a good story first, because we've heard, multiple script rewrites. Mahershala Ali, I think he's pretty involved. So like he knows about the script and has been like working with the writers and stuff like that. And then we've had the director changes as well. So, a lot of tumultuous news coming from Blade, but getting him in a Jurassic World movie would be sick.
Oh yeah. Well, even outside of that, Mahershala Ali, like anything he's in, I'm in. Like he's such a great actor. Like
he's a great actor.
And even still, like from like the Blade perspective. Give us the Blade game that's coming out. As long as that's sweet, like I'll be all right. Take a couple years, get the show set.
Yeah, now that we have, I mean, and I'm thinking more Star Wars specifically, I feel like we have a ton of different developers coming out with different IPs for gaming as well. We've got that 1943 game with Captain America and Black Panther coming out. The Blade game is going to be coming out, and we're going to talk about Marvel Rivals in a little bit here. But so many cool projects that are happening in the gaming realm. Blade is such a cool idea for a game.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be amazing.
And it fits well, like the whole concept, the character, like that is a good video game concept. Yeah, like, exactly. I'm all for it.
And Jurassic Park, Zane, I think you're somewhat on the same page as me with this, but like Max's Fast and the Furious is his guilty pleasure franchise. Jurassic Park is mine. I don't care if they're good movies. I love them, and I will watch all of them. Oh, yeah. So people rag on The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3. Dude, I love those movies when I was a kid. They were incredible. Like, the concepts of those movies are fantastic. Even if they get some of the, like, accurate, like, dinosaur stuff wrong. Dude, it's a great movie. They're just so much fun.
It's fun. That's why, like, even to this day, like, the first Jurassic Park movie is probably my all-time favorite movie. Like, I've watched that so many times. Yeah, then from Lost World and Jurassic Park 3, rented those from the library all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, they're fun. They're just...
People crap on the Jurassic World movies too, but like I still enjoy them like almost as much as the original trilogy.
Oh yeah, they're just fun.
They're just fun. Like, they're fun. It's a freaking dinosaur movie. Like, come on, guys. Like,
right.
It's about dinosaurs.
Right.
In the present time. Like, obviously it's going to be ridiculous. Come on.
That's what I'm here for. I'm here for the ridiculousness of it. Like,
exactly. And that's what Max would say about Fast and the Furious. So, you know, to each their own. Right. I don't enjoy the Fast and Furious movies for that reason, but some people do. So there you go. I like dinosaurs instead. Next thing up on our nerd news is Knives Out 3. They just announced a couple days ago, Rian Johnson specifically, director and writer of the first two Knives Out movies. They're going to be coming out with another one called Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. They've already been working on the cast. Daniel Craig is coming back as, what's his name, Benoit LeBlanc, or whatever his name, Benoit Blanc. And we've got already added to the cast Glenn Close, Andrew Scott, Kerry Washington, Josh O'Connor, Kaylee Spaney, and Jeremy Renner just got announced today. And Mila Kunis just got announced today. So there's already a growing cast, and this is one of those, I love these movies because you could just throw literally any celebrity in there and be like, yeah, let's go. Right. Like, the last one had like Dave Bautista and what's her name, Agatha Harkness. I can't think of her.
Catherine
Hahn. Yeah, like just like an eclectic mix of actors and actresses that just makes it so much fun. Yeah. And the modern day murder mystery vibe that they give is just, I love those movies. They're just so much fun. So I'm very excited about this. What do you think about the next one coming up? Any of those actors, actresses really interest you?
I mean, like, not off of like top of my head. Like, it's just, I think, like you said, you kind of nailed it. Of just like, it's an eclectic mix. You don't know who's gonna like pop up or show up, who they get. It's just a fun story. Yeah, like you said, it's this modern of just this murder mystery, and like, yeah, it's kind of plug and play. Who are you gonna get? What role are they gonna have? Like, it's just, it's fun. It's well done. It's well written. You know, it's a good series, and yeah, it's just like, it's not like I have a list of like, oh, this person needs to be in this or this. It's just like, I like that you don't know who could show up in it. Like, it would almost be more fun if they didn't announce who was going to be in it, and then to see them in the movie, like, that's when you find out who's in it. Like, obviously your main characters or maybe a couple teasers, but like, if they did more of keeping stuff secret of who's in it, like, that would put it, you know, next level.
That would be kind of sweet, actually, if they didn't announce any of that. If they just, like, the first time you knew about it or saw it was on screen, that would be sweet.
Right. Like, that would be...
I mean, in this day and age, like, it's just, like, almost impossible. I'm sure you still could do it if you tried really hard to keep everything a secret, but
Right.
it would be tough with all of the media reporting on everything, and yeah, it would be tough, but it would be so cool.
It'd be fun.
To like just like all of a sudden this random person, dude. Honestly, you know what? Okay, so maybe slight spoiler to people that haven't seen Dune 2, but I watched that not knowing that Christopher Walken was in it, and when he showed up, I was like, "What? Christopher Walken is in this? Like,
Right.
what the heck is going on right now?" And that was probably more to me being uninformed. Like, he probably was announced and all that stuff.
Right.
But the fact that he was like threw me off a little bit. But at the same time, it was really cool to see him just like show up and he actually nailed his role. He wasn't too. He's one of those actors that like he just basically plays himself in like most of his roles. He's fantastic, but every role that he plays, he's Christopher Walken.
Right.
He's very clearly Christopher Walken, and he actually like did a really, really great job in Dune Part 2. So like, yeah, seeing that kind of stuff, like just getting surprised would be pretty fun. Those movies are great. Definitely excited for Knives Out 3. I would assume that since they're casting now, that's probably going to be like 2025 release or something.
Probably
like
a good bet. Yeah.
It'll be interesting because they had like a very limited release in theaters for Glass Onion and Knives Out. You probably would have to drive a certain amount unless you're in like a big city to see them, like very limited release. So it'll be interesting to see if Netflix is like, you know what, this is like a good franchise that people want. Let's throw this, give it a major release and like see what happens. Because I would imagine that they're probably not too cheap to produce. Like they're pretty high production. It would be interesting to see if Netflix can have success in the theater. Maybe this isn't the year for it, as we've been talking about already.
Right. Like even still, like I think in general, like those things have never fully made sense because like I'm already paying for Netflix to go pay to see the movie. Like
Right.
I just watch it on Netflix. Now, if you were to go and be like, all right, there's limited release, but then, you know, maybe had some memorabilia that came with it, or like, hey, we're going to do this showing and there's going to be a member of the cast there that does a meet and greet, like something like that. Cool. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
That would, but it's just like, I'm already paying for Netflix. Why would I spend $20 to sit in a theater when I can just wait for it to be on Netflix and I can sit in the comfort of my own home and watch it?
Yeah.
Like I get some
That's
people
fair.
like the theater experience, but yeah, especially just the way everything is now. It's just, at least that's my personal opinion on it too. I'm just like, if
you're releasing concurrently, that's fair. Like I would probably do the same. But if you're giving it like a 2 to 3 month head start,
okay, yeah, like I could see that too.
Probably go see it in theaters. I mean, depending on like for me, obviously, like I've got kids and stuff, so like the only movies I go to really are kids movies with the kids. Like I can't get out by myself to watch a movie. If I had the ability to, that's something I would go watch in theaters if there were like a couple month head start on streaming on Netflix or something like that.
It's fair.
All right. This is the piece of news that I specifically picked for you, Zane.
Oh.
Chris Hemsworth is in talks to lead the G.I. Joe Transformers crossover movie at Paramount. They announced that we're gonna get this G.I. Joe Transformers crossover. It's kind of been rumored for a long time.
Okay, it wasn't been rumored. This was the end credit scene of the last Transformers movie.
Oh, okay. Well, I have definitely not seen the last like 3 Transformers movies.
Well, spoiler alert. Yeah, no,
okay.
What is the name of the most recent one that came out?
I couldn't tell you.
So they basically did like kind of a reboot of the Transformers series.
Okay.
So it's
with the Rise of the Beasts, or
yeah. So it has like Optimus Primal. Yeah. Rise of the Beasts. Yeah, I couldn't remember what the subtitle was.
Okay.
But yeah, it's basically a reboot. So it's all different people. Like it restarted. Like, hey, the Autobots got trapped here. Like it's kind of reset the story.
It was reset. I didn't know that, honestly.
Yeah. So it
okay.
reset the line, and the end credit scene for that movie is the kid that's been the whole adventure throughout the whole movie. A government agency takes him, we want to interview you, blah, blah, all this stuff. And then they bring him down like this bunker and it lights up and then there's the G.I. Joe symbol. and
Wow.
they want to. And so so this whole thing was teased in the end credit scene of the newest Transformers movie.
That's hilarious that I didn't even know that
Yeah.
was a post-credit scene. The fact that it's a combination of my ignorance and the non-popularity of that movie.
Oh, right.
I think people like Transformers fans, from what I've heard, did enjoy that movie.
Oh, it was fun. Yeah. I thought it was fun.
But yeah, I saw this news and I was like, this is Zane news right here.
Oh, 100%.
So, Chris Hemsworth, what do you think about him leading the G.I. Joe Transformer crossover movie?
Oh, I think it's awesome. Like, Chris Hemsworth has the star power. Like, people will go watch because it's Chris Hemsworth. Mm-hmm. And, like, I think he's also has that action hero. Like, he's perfect as that lead coming in from that aspect. It's just, like, I think it's a great casting choice. And, yeah, I'm excited to see what they do with it because I think it's 2 IPs that are fun that you could cross over. I think there was, like, a super limited, like, comic run that they kind of did way back when.
That's where that idea comes from. I mean, like, obviously Hasbro, like, owns the IPs together, but yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering, like, where does this crossover come from?
I'm pretty sure, I don't remember if it was the 80s or 90s, they did like a 6 episode, like a mini series in comics, and that was it. So it's like they did it a little bit, but it was just like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then it was basically like they just teamed up, and then the Autobots and G.I. Joe then teamed up to take down Megatron, and just a fun, like I said, it was just a quick little mini series. And they're like, so it's like, this is one of those crossovers that like no one asked for, like no one wanted, like no one even thought about it, but it's here. And it's one of those crossovers that then you look at it and you're like, well, this is actually super fun.
It actually kind of makes sense a little bit. Like,
right. It makes sense. And you're like,
I shouldn't say that. It doesn't make sense, but it could be fun. Just looking at it, I'm like, okay, this looks like it could be a fun action movie.
Well, right. Well, I think it makes sense from the aspect of like, you're taking 2 IPs that kind of already just like are out there, not out there, but they're just like based on toys that were super popular. They both had really popular and, cartoons, big in the 80s. And you think about it, any kid, growing up when you're younger in your toy box, people had G.I. Joe action figures, people had Transformers action figures. And I think there's some nostalgia in there because you played with it. And, think of all the toys, you grew up with. You made your own stories, and your Transformers are fighting your G.I. Joes, and this is fighting this. And you just had these. So it has this crossover, but it almost has like that toy box feel. So I think there's probably a bit of like a tag of nostalgia to it, just because you're having these 2 childhood franchises that you really don't think of being together, but then you're like in that fantastical childhood mindset. You're like, yeah, why not? This is sweet. Combine these. I'm all for it. Why not?
And he also plays Optimus Prime in the upcoming Transformers 1 animated movie that is coming to theaters September 20th. So like he's got a foot in the door in the Transformers franchise already.
Right.
And you're right though, like Star Power, I've watched a decent amount of behind the scenes stuff with Chris Hemsworth, and the dude just genuinely seems like a nice guy. You can't really say that for all celebrities these days. So it is kind of nice to see. It's just like refreshing to see like a nice guy in that kind of capacity. So yeah, I'm rooting for the guy. And he just is a very handsome gentleman. So
right. Absolutely.
He can't go wrong with Chris Hemsworth. So
right.
Last bit of news, Zane. This is for both of us. Both of us saw this news and we were very excited about it. Marvel Rivals, which is a 6v6 superhero team-based PvP shooter that just got done with its PC closed beta, is coming to PS5. They are going to have a closed PS5 beta in the month of July this year. And this is incredible news because we've seen clips of gameplay online. Obviously, some people have gotten the chance to play it in the closed beta, and it looks phenomenal. It's basically like Marvel Overwatch. I'm not even a PvP guy, but like this looks great, and I'm definitely going to be trying to get into that closed beta to test it out a little bit. So what are your thoughts on it coming to PS5 so soon? I know for me, I thought this was going to be like a year plus before it came to consoles. So the fact that it's coming so soon before potentially, I don't even know if they have a official release date for the game yet, but before a potential official release date, that's pretty dang quick in my eyes.
Yeah. Well, I think that was more the surprise because usually you figure, go on PC and then, maybe 6-9 months, let everything get, figured out there. And then that's when they start crossing over. But it just seems like, yeah, this is seems like it's out of nowhere. That's like, oh yeah, it's PS5. They just finished the closed beta for PC not that long ago. But like usually when they, at least in my experience of like when they do closed betas for things, like they tell you like beforehand, hey, we're doing it PC. Here's when the, PlayStation beta will be. Here's Xbox, or the console beta. Like when they launched this and announced the beta, like there was no mention of console.
Nope.
Like I think they mentioned that they were going to work on it in the future, but there was no mention for it at all.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so this just close to like I didn't really even have it on my radar because I was like, oh, this is going to be something a year later.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden that ends, and then now literally just drops today. Oh, by the way, we're having a closed beta for PS5, and not only that, but it's literally in a month, month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
it's not like it's 6 months down the road. So it's like a little bit of a blind side there, I feel like, just because you usually that gets announced together quicker. But yeah, no, I'm here for it. Like I'm not gonna say like I'm the hugest like Overwatch or like that style of game. Like they're fine. I've played them.
I'm not a PvP guy. Like I just don't gravitate towards that type of game. But I mean, it's Marvel.
Right, exactly. Like they're fun and I enjoy it. Right, and it's the IP you like, so it's just like absolutely. I'm here for it. Yeah, I'll try to want to get into the closed beta too. And it just looks fun.
I think it's supposed to be free to play as well.
It is, yeah. I believe it's free to play.
Yeah, that is another huge factor. There's going to be this was announced at the PlayStation State of Play presentation, which we didn't really get a whole lot of other news from, unfortunately. But this was exciting. PS5 users will get a exclusive Scarlet Spider outfit, so that'll be really cool. And they also announced that Venom and Adam Warlock are going to be playable characters as well. And they already have a pretty decent line.
They had a decent roster already.
Right.
Yeah.
So you will not have, tough time finding a playstyle to suit yourself, I think. There's going to be plenty of characters in Marvel Rivals that you're going to be able to choose from. So pretty cool. Very excited to try that out. Hopefully get into the closed beta. Zayne and I, maybe we'll get back to streaming.
Ooh, that would be cool. That'd be a fun one.
Rivals. That would be a
fun one.
Game to stream. We'll see how it goes. I gotta like upgrade my PC and do some stuff, because last time I was streaming my PS5 games, it was a rough go of it. So.
A little rough.
Yep, got to do some things to get back to that. But very exciting. Looking forward to Marvel Rivals coming to PlayStation 5 in July. So that's it for nerd news, Zayne. It's a lot of good news for us. I feel like that's very Isaac and Zayne suited nerd news.
Yeah, I think that was on par.
On par. Exactly.
Very much on brand with us.
Next thing we've got, Zayne, now I'm saying this out loud and realizing that I probably never told you that we were doing this. So I will go first to allow you some room to think, but now it's time for some hot and snot.
Hot or snot?
So I'm going to go first to let Zayne think a little bit. But I honestly have not. We've been super busy with the girls, like finishing up school, and Holly finishing up teaching for the year. So I haven't been able to dig into a whole lot. But after the Fallout series came out, I started looking into which Fallout I should play first. I have dabbled in the very first one. That's like the computer RPG Fallout. And I do like those kind of games, but it was very long and tedious for the first like hour that I played. And I was like, you know what? I got to get something that's more like up to speed, basically. So upon recommendation from the Infinity Bros, I started playing Fallout 3 a couple weeks ago after the Fallout series aired. And so far, I've really been enjoying it. It really does feel like a post-apocalyptic, like Skyrim, basically, which is pretty much my jam. Like, I think I still prefer the like fantasy type of genre,
Right.
as opposed to the post-apocalyptic. Been very much enjoying it. Been getting super sidetracked on side quests. The only thing about that one is like it doesn't really give you a lot of direction as to like what you should be doing. It literally is just like, here's every single quest known to man. Do whatever you want. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I've just been going off, like kind of doing my own thing and occasionally making my way to what I think are the main objectives, but who knows? But I've been enjoying it so far. It's a lot of fun. And I think you can get almost all the Fallout games for super cheap on like Steam and, you know, PlayStation Store, all that stuff right now. So been checking that out. It's been good. So far, I think I've probably put like 10 to 15 hours in it, and I'm really enjoying it. Give it a 5 out of 6, just like first impressions. So we'll see what the rest of the game turns out to be. But I like the gameplay, the Skyrim-esque gameplay, all about that. My other hot is Welcome to Wrexham. That's the series. It's like a docu-series that Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, they bought Wrexham, a like football club in Wales, and they basically were like, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to do a documentary about it, about like the progress of the team. And it's been like way more enjoyable than I thought it would be. I mean, like obviously with Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, like those guys are funny dudes and it's going to be fun to watch them. But like the football side of it, or the soccer side of it for you Americans, it's actually been, I've grown way more appreciative of soccer and European, like the Premier League, like system. It's really been cool to watch going through that, because Wrexham is like on the bottom tier. I think I'm like almost through the second season right now. The third season is actually like releasing weekly as we speak right now. And they are like at the top of the National League, which is like basically you have the Premier League, and then there's a couple like League One, League Two. I think they call it league play. So like the good leagues are all above them, basically. So if they get promoted, they're in the good leagues, basically.
Right.
But it's been actually really, really cool. So really enjoying that show. I'd give that a 5 out of 6 as well. Have you caught that one at all yet, Zane?
No, I haven't.
It's on Hulu. Actually, it's pretty easy to binge because the episodes are only like 20 to 30 minutes long. If you like Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, you'll enjoy the series, even if you're not like a soccer fan. I think I'd equate it to like Ted Lasso in the sense that like I have basically zero interest in soccer. Like I just don't enjoy it at all. And when you describe to people that Ted Lasso is about football coach that goes to coach soccer, immediately some people's brains just turn off and they're like, no, I'm not watching that. But Ted Lasso is not about the soccer. And I think this series, well, it is definitely about the soccer. It has given me a much better appreciation of like just the history of football, basically.
Right.
And so that's really cool. And Wrexham, you know, like I'm like pretty close to like wanting to get a Wrexham like jersey or shirt, like because I'm a sucker for like a underdog sports story.
Right.
So
Sure.
It's pretty cool. So yeah, I'd give that one a 5 out of 6 as well. It's pretty dang good so far. Check it out if you've got Hulu. And then I've got two that actually I've got one. So I've got one that I couldn't decide whether to put on my hot or snot list because it's like right in the middle. So last night, Holly and I were looking for a movie to watch, and I'd seen a few people recommend The Idea of You, which is a rom-com with Anne Hathaway. And I was like, oh, Anne Hathaway in a rom-com? Like, yeah, let's go. Like, I'm not a big rom-com guy, but like, it's Anne Hathaway. Like, yeah, she's great in everything. So
Right.
So we were like, oh yeah, let's check this out. And it's about a 40-year-old, which is Anne Hathaway, who is divorced and falls in love with a 24-year-old pop star. So I don't know. I don't know that there's anything that I could tell you that would make you want to watch this. Like, it's not bad. It's not like the best, rom-com I've ever seen, but it's not bad. It's just like right in the middle of those, like, yeah, it was a good one-time watch. Probably never going to watch it again, but it's not one of those movies that you just like grab onto and you're like, oh yeah, that was great. So, and actually I'd never heard of the guy that is the main lead in it. And I just saw a news article that he is casted in the live action Masters of the Universe like movie that they're working on, or I don't even know if it's a series or a movie, but I think he's casted as He-Man.
Oh,
so, and he didn't look like that huge or ripped or anything. So I was like, oh, I don't know. Okay,
all right.
Cool. Well, maybe that'll work. I don't know. He was a pretty good actor, but yeah, it was. I don't know. This is a typical rom-com. I'd give it a 4 out of 6. Like, it's fine. Nothing too special about it. But if you're an Anne Hathaway fan or a rom-com fan, you probably enjoy it. And then my snot is my latest Nick Cage movie.
Oh no.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of Nick Cage movies that fall under snot, unfortunately. But
it's why we love him. It's why we love
him. Exactly. But like, there are some of those that like they're so bad that they're still super fun to watch. Like, I was talking with somebody on social media about Willy's Wonderland. That's one of my favorite Nicolas Cage movies.
And he never says anything.
Like, he doesn't have a line.
Doesn't have a line.
It's so ridiculous that it's actually like super fun and like enjoyable to watch. But this one, unfortunately, was not like that. It's called Between Worlds. It's streaming on Amazon Prime. And Nick Cage is this trucker who like randomly meets this chick who can bring people back from the dead. And I'm like laughing in my head just trying to describe this movie. So her daughter gets into a motorcycle accident and she tries to bring her daughter back from the dead, but instead she brings Nick Cage's late wife back in her daughter's body.
Oh. Well then, no.
Yeah, so like you already get where I'm going with this. It's a terrible movie.
Huh, all right.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Like this is 2018. So this is like right when he gets into his, and he had a few probably earlier, but like this is peak like horror Nick Cage. And I don't even think horror fans will enjoy this one. Like it's not good. It's kind of right in the middle of like, some of those get so bad that they're funny to watch, and it's just not quite there yet. Like there are parts that were ridiculous that I laughed at, but I was like, this is not one that I would pop on at like an Infinity Bros party and like laugh at with you guys. Like it's not, I mean, sure, we would still have fun watching it, but it's not that kind of movie.
It's not Mandy.
It's not. Oh gosh, we would have fun watching Mandy, dude. Oh,
right.
Yeah, that's a wild one. Yeah, but it was very bad. The acting is bad. The CGI, worst CGI fire that I've ever seen in my life. Okay, I'm gonna spoil this because I'm begging you not to go watch this movie.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on it.
So at the end of the movie, and two consistent things. I don't know why this is. I wonder if Nick Cage like suggests it when he's like in the like writer's room or something like that. His name is Joe. For some reason, he's always named Joe. Like in like 7 or 8 of his movies that I've watched, he's named Joe. Okay. And then number 2, he's like a grumpy drunk. And like, that's like all of his bad movies. He's a grumpy drunk in, basically. I don't know why that is, but that's the way it is. So he's Joe. He's a grumpy drunk. And like I said, this is the worst CGI fire that I've ever seen in my life. The movie ends with drunk, grumpy Joe pouring gasoline all over himself, lighting a cigarette, and he's just casually like smoking a cigarette while he's on fire. Like, I saw that and I was just like, you guys just gave up on this ending, right? Like, you're just like, you know what, Nick, let's just call it a day. Like, let's just be done with this. Like, it was so bad. The third act was atrocious. And like, sometimes a lot of these Nicolas Cage movies that I'm watching, like, they start out really weird and I'm like, where is this going? And by the end of the movie, I'm like, oh, okay, like, all right, like, I can dig that. Like, sure, whatever. But this one started off bad and just got worse as the movie went. So do not watch it. 1.5 out of 6. I give it the extra 0.5 because Nicolas Cage does not perform horribly. Like, he's kind of his average Nicolas Cage. And some of the acting is okay. But man, that CGI fire at the end just did it for me. I was just like, wow, this is a terrible movie. And the concept, I guess, is original, but it's still weird. It's still super weird. So that was pretty bad. But that's all I got. Zane, you got anything for Hot and Snot?
Not really. Let's see. From the State of Play today, they had a trailer for the new Monster Hunter game that comes out next year.
Ooh, okay.
That actually looked pretty good if you're a Monster Hunter fan. I think it's called
You and Jarrett.
Monster Hunter Rise, I think. Like, it actually looks
Rise
pretty good.
Rise was the one that came out on Switch.
Is that one? I don't remember.
I don't know.
Maybe it wasn't.
I'm not a Monster Hunter guy, so
I don't remember what it was. I mean, either way, there's a new Monster Hunter game coming out.
Cool,
that looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. The only other thing I got, I guess, I've been watching through this gall darn anime. I was kind of talking about it. I guess I'll throw this in here.
Do it. Is this a hot or a snot?
It's both. I guess it's both for good reasons.
What's the middle category in hot and snot?
I don't even like.
We gotta come up with something.
It's one of those things. It's hot and snot. Like, it's so bad it's good.
Okay, it's one of those things. Yeah.
Yeah. So the anime is called Ghost Stories, and it's on Amazon Prime. Now, what's significant about this anime is that it's kind of aimed towards like younger kids, but it's kind of like a horror type anime. The whole plot is like these high school kids are like the paranormal club in their school, and they banish these ghosts and spirits, blah, 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 blah. Well, it was, I guess, moderately successful or whatever in Japan. It, didn't really do much. It had one season. But anyways, I don't remember if what the deal was with the studio, but they sold the rights to do an English dub on this. And the company that like bid on it was like it was basically bundled together. They were trying to bundle something else. So it's one of those things that like they just kind of accidentally came to these rights with this anime, and they're like, all right, well, let's just do an English dub for it. And they're like, all right, well, how do you want to do this? They don't have anything to go off of. And the parent company was just like, well, you can just say whatever you want. The only rules that they were given for the dub was you can't change characters' names, you cannot change how the ghosts are slain, and you cannot change like the overall like plot or the theme of an episode.
That's
Outside
hilarious.
of that, every line is ad-libbed.
Wow.
And it progressed, and I think it's like 20 or 21 episodes, and around like 8 or 9, you can tell that all the voice actors and actresses got on the same page of like, all right, we're going to just keep pushing and seeing how much more ridiculous stuff we can say. And it literally just gets worse and worse. And you're like, I can't believe this. But they were literally like, they weren't monitored. They were just like, say whatever you want. Just don't break
hilarious.
These. And this show is ridiculous. Like, okay, did you ever, growing up, I know it's on Prime too, but did you ever watch Most Extreme Challenge?
No, it doesn't sound familiar.
Okay. Well, I could also recommend watching this too. It's hilarious. So Most Extreme Challenge there's this show, I don't remember if it was Japanese or Korean, called Takeshi's Castle. And think of it as like Wipeout, kind of like from maybe like the 80s Japanese Wipeout.
Is that the one where they do the like figure, like they try to fit
I mean,
the
that's
foam thing coming out? That's one of the challenges.
That's part of it, but they have all these like weird challenges. It's almost more like Fear Factor-esque type challenges.
Okay.
So this whole thing was a show, Takeshi's Castle, like I said, I think it was like 70s, 80s, whatever. But Most Extreme Challenge was that whoever the company was, they bought the rights to all these, like the video for this, and they basically have two announcers in English, but then they dub what everyone is saying. So it's completely ad-libbed. They completely like make up the voices of what the announcers are saying, what the contestants are saying. It's actually hilarious. Like if you've never watched Most Extreme Challenge, again, I would recommend watching that. But it's the same thing. Like they completely ad-lib it. It's the same thing they do in this anime. Everything's completely ad-libbed. And like I said, it just gets more and more ridiculous of everything they say, and they just keep pushing what they can say. And so like obviously it's all ad-libbed, so like it's not good, but it's hilarious because you're like you know that's not what the line is supposed to be, and you're just like, I can't believe they just said that. And so the anime, when they did this, it was from 2001. So all the references, it's all dark humor, it's all late 90s, early 2000s references. It's been a riot to watch because it's hilarious, because it's legit like no one's watching us, so we're just gonna say whatever we want. And like then there's like articles I've read that they basically made it that like whoever would like show up first to record their lines, they basically would set the pace of the whole episode. So like they would record their lines, then when everyone else got there, they had to play off of what they said. So it's hilarious. Like I said, it's still.
What an amazing concept, though. Like, that's so fun.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And you're like, I can't believe that this was a thing that they're like, yeah, just go for it. But, oh my goodness, it's been a riot. It's been hilarious. And like I said, around episode 8 or 9 is when it really starts taking off. Like, you can see it slowly ramping up. But, like, throughout the whole series, it just gets more and more ridiculous. So it's been hilarious to watch. So that's why I got to put that in both hot and snot, because like it's not good. It's not like it's a good anime. It's not like it's, good plot devices or anything, but so that's snot, but it's hot because it's hilarious how it's ad-libbed. And that's
amazing.
It just makes it. I want to
go check this out.
It's on Prime. So like, if you got time to kill and you want some episodes of stuff, Ghost Stories on Prime, and then Most Extreme Challenge, also just abbreviated MXC, that's also on Prime. You can go check both those out. It's fantastic, just mindless TV to throw on. It's hilarious because it's all just ad-libbed.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. I would recommend checking both of them out.
Nice. All right, Zane, talking summer blockbusters, we have a top 6.
We're going in 3, 2.
You're entering the top 5 on the Infinity Bros podcast. Starting now.
We're doing top 6 summer blockbusters. And for me, when I hear summer blockbuster, I hear a movie that is made to make money in the theater. Like a movie that is basically promoted to have people coming out to the theater. Like I remember that one of them is on my list specifically that I'll talk about a little bit later, but I had this theater experience where like it was jam-packed, like people coming out the door. That's what I think of when I think summer blockbuster. So, and obviously there's been summer blockbusters back to, when theaters became a thing. So some of these summer blockbusters we're probably going to talk about might be, unless you went pure, Zane, and went to only experiences that you've had before. But I went to like movies that I was like, that would have been like the most incredible movie to be at like a midnight premiere for. My list is a little mix of both.
My list was more or less of just like, these seem like movies I'd want to go to.
That too.
I don't know if it's necessarily full blown like on like Blockbuster, just because like everyone has different movie tastes.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's also more so of movies that I feel like, hey, these would be like kind of like you said of movies that like you should see this in a theater. Like it just seems that way, but it's just like there's only so much you can go from that. But it just like I don't know what's gonna make money, what's not. But it's just like what seems like, hey, you should go see this in a theater.
So if you disagree with our definition of summer blockbusters or disagree with any of the movies that are on our lists, hit us up on social media. You can email us at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com or go to theinfinitybros.com just for fun, to listen to this episode and stuff.
Or
like that.
you can just deal with it because these are our opinions.
Exactly. I mean, I would like to hear from you, even if you disagree with us. Like
that's true.
Matt from the Geek Nation podcast hit us up on socials after our latest episode, Zane. It was like, mint chocolate is disgusting on everything. And he was dead wrong, but
everyone's, everyone's entitled to their opinions, even when they're wrong. So,
exactly. There you go. All right, Zane, do you want to go back and forth? Is that how we want to do this? Or do we want to do a whole list?
I mean, right. I think it's more fun back and forth.
Back and forth? All right, here we go.
Why not?
You go ahead. What's your number 6?
My number 6 is the Borderlands movie.
Ooh.
Like, it's fun. Like, I mean, yeah, it's kind of has that stigma. It's a video game movie, but like, I don't know. I feel like there's a chance that this could be a fun one. And I just feel like the premise could be fun to see in a theater if they do well. Because it's flashy characters, flashy premise. Why not? Big stars.
Hold up, Zane. We might be on different pages here. Did you do all movies that haven't been released yet? Did you do all movies that are coming out this summer?
Well, yeah. You just said summer blockbusters. What's coming out this summer?
I should have been more specific.
I guess so.
Tell you what.
You said the list of summer blockbusters.
You keep your list. I meant like past summer blockbusters.
Oh, you definitely did not say past summer blockbusters.
I definitely did not say that. But you keep your list, and we could have different lists. It's fine. So, in this sense, we probably should go separate then, because we're going to confuse people, probably. Because I did ones that I have been to in the past, and ones that I had liked to have gone to. So,
I don't know how you got that from this.
That's what I got from Max, Infinity Bro Max suggested summer blockbusters as a list, and I was like, the first thing I thought was, I don't know if there's more than one summer blockbuster that I'm going to this year. Like Deadpool and Wolverine. Obviously, I'm going to that. But besides that, I was like, I don't know if there's another one I'm going to.
I definitely read that as your top 6 summer blockbusters for this summer of what you
this is an episode of just pure shenanigans. So
I mean, obviously,
this is fine. This is exactly what this episode needed. It needed this wizard hat from
it really did
my beautiful wife Holly. So thank you.
It really did. That's just extra.
And speaking of this beautiful wizard hat, my number 6 is actually Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. So Holly actually got me into Harry Potter, like the fandom, when she was in high school. Never read the books, never watched any of the movies until about like I think the 5th one, maybe 5th or 6th one. I started going to the premieres with her. And I remember going to this one, and this is one that as a like kind of like an outsider perspective, because I wasn't like, I liked Harry Potter, but I wasn't like a huge fan. I like went to this movie and everybody was so hyped. Like my wife was like screaming, like everybody was so hyped to be here, and it just got me hyped to be there. And it was just a really, really fun experience. And it was like a perfect way. Like as much as you may or may not like Harry Potter, the IP, and if you're a book purist or whatever, there's a lot of differences from the books to the movies, but Deathly Hallows Part 2 was like the perfect movie to cap off the series of movies that they had come out with. And it was just a really cool experience to like be there in the movie theater. So that one is my number 6. All right, Zane, what's the number 5 movie that you want to go to this?
My number 5 that I want to go to this summer is Twisters. Which I guess you could flip this, the first one of Twister. I guess you could consider that a summer blockbuster.
True. But Twisters looks good though.
Twisters does look good.
Yeah, I want to go.
Even as far as summer blockbuster, like that could do it for this. Like legit.
I think Twisters was one of those movies that I heard they were making a sequel, and I was like, why? Like, why is this needed? I don't care about it at all. But I do really, really love Twister, the original, and everything that I've seen about Twisters has made me more intrigued to go and see it. So because of mine and my wife's love for the original movie, we might actually go see this one this summer. Like this one, it looks good. I agree with you there.
Perfect.
All right. My number 5 of movies that I have already been to, Iron Man. That was 2008 high school vibes. That was back when like midnight premieres were just like getting going. Like it was just becoming a thing. And that was so cool because I remember going and that was like before I was a big superhero fan. Like I liked the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. That's kind of what sparked my love for superheroes. But I went in not knowing anything about Iron Man in this movie. And that movie blew me away. Like when the credits were rolling, I was like, holy crap. Like superhero movies can be cool.
Right.
And like, yeah, again, I love the Spider-Man movies, but when I saw that one, I was just like, holy crap, this is different. And then it went on to become, the MCU that we know and love today. So there you go. Number 4, Zane.
All right. Number 4 for me, I have Trap. So with Trap, we're continuing the summer and streak of Josh Hartnett just come out with banger movies. But the reason why this one's, so I'll hit with the premise of this. So this is the movie where the Josh Hartnett plays the dad. He brings his daughter to a pop singer's concert, and then they lock the whole concert because apparently a serial killer's loose at the concert. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I have this kind of listed, not only am I interested in seeing it, but it's also an M. Night Shyamalan movie. And you either love M. Night Shyamalan or you hate him. But for whatever reason, his movies can seem to just blow up or completely implode. So that's why I was like, it has potential, I guess, of summer blockbuster.
That one looked interesting. I saw
it seemed like an interesting premise.
Like, oh, okay.
But yeah, it's like you either like his movies or hate them. And that's usually how it seems to go with his movies. They're either really good or really bad. So I was like, you know what? I'll put that on there just because I'm interested in seeing it because it's a premise we haven't seen before. So I was like, all right, I'll give it because it seems original.
Yeah. Cool.
So, and it's Josh Hartnett. So
there you go. My number 4 is the last one that I've actually been to on this list. This is my most memorable midnight premiere that I ever went to. It was The Dark Knight. I remember going to my hometown theater. It was packed, people lining up out the door, and we were in the middle of the movie theater. Credits were the previews were playing and stuff. And this one guy, I'll never forget this. This one guy, when it all became quiet, was like, "This isn't Wall-E." And just like everybody burst out laughing. It was fantastic. But that was my most memorable midnight premiere that I ever went to. And it's The Dark Knight. Like, it's one of the best, not even just superhero movies, but like there's a case to be made that could be on a top 10 list of best movies of all time. Yeah. If you're a superhero fan, probably. But I think it stands alone on its own as just a film in general as well. So that was an amazing experience. And once again, that was the last one that I have on my list that I actually went to. So,
well, and then the fun, especially for The Dark Knight, like how impactful that was. But my fun fact of that was the first time I ever met Robbie.
Really?
Yeah, we went to. He was visiting at Crown, him and Jess, and it's like, all right, we got this new guy coming, and we went to Dark Knight in Waconia. First time I ever met Robbie, and here we are.
Friendships being forged over the movie theater and the Dark Knight, and the roots of the Infinity Bros.
I wish I would have got back in my car and went home.
You know,
just kidding.
True.
Just kidding.
Yes, I agree with that sentiment. But it is funny because like the Infinity Bros are basically formed off of you and Robbie and Max's group chat. And that's basically what our friend group is based on.
That was the beginning.
That was the very beginning. And it is crazy to see like the results of that and how we've still stuck together through, God, what has it been? 2011, probably.
Years, yeah.
13 years. Wild. That's wild to think about. It's been that long.
It's been a long time.
It's been a really long time. And 5 years of Infinity Bros. Wild to think about. So, yeah, that's all right. My number 3. Oh, wait. You're number 3.
Wait, it's my number 3.
Your number 3.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
My number 3, it's more my hype on this. It has the edge because of just the name tied to it and because of the series. But my number 3 is Alien Romulus. So it is a new Alien movie in the Alien franchise. I believe this one is supposed to take place between the first and the second movie. But these are always big movies, and especially even the side ones. If you get into like Prometheus, those ones, like if you never like watched through those movies, I get if you're not a horror fan, these probably are movies that aren't on your radar. Mm-hmm. They're not super terrifying because it is creature feature type stuff, but like the story that's built and some of the shots and how it's like made, like these are great movies to sit and watch, and they're long movies, so it's just like they might not be in everyone's like wheelhouse if you're not much for horror, but like these are they're solid movies. I very much enjoy them, so that's why it gets number 3 for me. And
nice.
I'm also just a horror person. Not that those really make great blockbusters, but
sometimes they do. Sometimes.
If it's a big enough like IP it's coming from, like Alien is.
Right.
So
True. There you go. Yep. My number 3 is actually one that I've seen in theaters, which was a special experience in of itself, but Empire Strikes Back. I've seen some documentaries of like Star Wars fans back in the day, and that would have been just such a special thing to be at a premiere of Empire Strikes Back. And that was before Empire Strikes Back is when we find out that Luke is Vader's son. It's where we find out, that's the one that we find out that Luke and Leia are brother and sister, correct? Or is that Return of the Jedi?
It's Return of the Jedi.
But anyways, like just being there would be just such a cool moment. And just, I can just imagine like what we got in Avengers Endgame, like Return of the Jedi probably honestly was their Avengers Endgame. Like, but being there for Empire Strikes Back, like one of the best movies ever made, would have been something really, really special, especially as a diehard like Star Wars fan. So that's what I got from number 3.
Solid. Yeah, that'd be a sweet one. Like if you had a time machine to go back, like that would be interesting. Right? That'd be a cool one.
And when theaters were coming back after COVID and they didn't have any new movies to show, they were showing like these older movies, and Holly and I went to Empire Strikes Back in the theater, and it was really cool. It was so fun to see it on a big screen.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. What's your number 2, Zane?
My number 2. All right. This one is just a pure Zane pick. Like, there's no way this will ever be a blockbuster.
This whole list is
I know
pure Zane list.
It is, but I had an idea in my head and I ran with it, so I'm sticking with it.
You and I had different ideas. But.
See, I think this one, I could probably get you to come to this one with me, even though it is horror. So number 2 for me is Longlegs.
Oh, yes.
Because I was like, you got a serial killer played by Nicolas Cage. But we don't even know the whole, because it's all this cult angle. We know nothing about it.
Nothing about it.
Like I said, there's no way this is going to be a blockbuster, but I watched this trailer. I watched the trailer again today, and I'm like,
dude,
like that was a very well done trailer. Like the trailer for this is 6 out of 6.
Trailer is phenomenal.
It's phenomenal.
I got a little like I got some goosebumps like being creeped out by this trailer because
Yep.
you don't see. Okay, this is, I don't know if you're not a spoiler person for trailers, like skip ahead a minute, but like, so this trailer, I mean, I as a Nicolas Cage fan knew that he was in this movie
Mm-hmm.
as I'm watching this trailer, and I'm like watching for him. You don't see him. You don't see him. The very like last 5 seconds, he says a line, and it is one of the creepiest deliveries I've ever heard from Nicolas Cage.
Right?
Like it gave me goosebumps a little bit. So let's chalk this up on the schedule, dude, because that would be
absolutely
a phenomenal one to go to with you. I think
Yes.
that would be really fun. So
yeah, that's why I had to throw that one on there. I was like,
I'm with you.
I'm very excited for that one.
Let's do it. All right. My number 2 and my number 2 and 1 are ones that I just consider like some of the best movies of all time. So being there at the movie theater on a premiere night would have been just very special. My number 2 is Raiders of the Lost Ark. Man, to be there and these top two movies again, like these are what I think of when I think people say like blockbuster, like cinema, like this is what you're there for. Just the feeling of film, like that kind of stuff. Like I feel like the nerdy film buffs in like film school and stuff like that, and they're probably off, arguing about Citizen Kane or something besides that. But that's what I feel like when I'm like thinking about these films. Raiders of the Lost Ark, and to be fair, it's not even my favorite Indiana Jones movie, but it's the most iconic one by far. It's just pure cinema to me is Raiders of the Lost Ark. So I think that one would have been so cool to go to a premiere night of. All right, Zane, number 1 blockbuster for 2024. What you got?
All right. Well, I mean, I think this before I say my number 1, just because I want to at least have us somewhat on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Can I at least throw out some of what I remember as some of the summer movies that I went to?
Yes, please do.
All right. So the ones that I'm remembering that stick out to me from growing up, like you said, Iron Man. So some of the ones I'll throw in, like I remember going to the midnight of Return of the King and Two Towers.
Ooh,
I remember those.
yeah.
I cannot remember the Fellowship of the Ring, but I do remember Two Towers and Return of the King.
Those are cool.
I remember Transformers, the first Transformers. And I don't remember the first. I think it's another one. I don't remember the first, but then of Pirates of the Caribbean. Dead Man's Chest and At World's End.
Oh, those are fun. Those are blockbuster movies, dude.
Well, and that's why I was like, I wanted to come back and say that because it's like to get on the same page because those were those big blockbusters. Like those were those, still as that kid, you're going to the midnight showings.
Tension in the air.
Right.
Like,
you could just
feel
it.
That you were watching something like epic, like that feeling.
Exactly. And even now looking back, you can rewatch those trilogies, but it's always that thing of remembering of like, well, we didn't know what that next movie was going to be. That excitement of like, what's this next piece of that story? And and I guess I was just throwing those the further ones back, but obviously you got to put Avengers Endgame, the Avengers, all those obviously, but those are more recent. But those ones just stuck out to me because like I remember those midnight showings because it's just like as a kid I remember like my parents weren't huge nerds, but like my dad went to us with those midnight showings because it was just like it was such a cool thing. But going back for my number 1, obviously no surprise, like it's Deadpool and Wolverine, like tied in this summer, like we talked about it earlier. Like I don't think it's just going to be a summer blockbuster. It's probably going to be the biggest movie of this year. Yeah. I just don't see anything beating it. So
yeah,
I mean,
I'm like,
maybe if we talk about this in the future, then I can add this to my summer blockbuster list of previous blockbusters.
There you go.
But yeah,
that's
my number 1.
I don't. Man, now that I'm thinking about it too, like I don't think there's another movie that's gonna come close unless we get a weird like cultural phenomenon like we got last year with Barbie and Oppenheimer. Like I just don't see anything else topping Deadpool and Wolverine this year. Like I just can't see it. But yeah, that's gonna be a fun event, and it's now that we're talking about it now. I haven't bought tickets yet, but maybe we should go together Zayne, because that's one that's going to be a fun one to get together with friends and have that old summer blockbuster feeling of going with a group of people. You know, that was the fun part of those summer blockbusters, like getting together with your family and your friends and just like having a good time watching an epic movie. So that's got the feel. It's got the feel, even though it's going to be rated R and there's going to be a lot of sexual innuendos and inappropriate jokes. It's going to be phenomenal. So my number one of summer blockbusters is, I think it's my second favorite movie of all time. I say that because for those of you who have been following the Infinity Bros, Into the Spider-Verse is obviously my number one. But this one is one that I would have very much liked to be at a premiere for, and it's Jurassic Park. We already talked about how that's like kind of our guilty pleasure franchise. Jurassic Park is just, that's cinema to me, man. Like, that's just like, you get that feel good of like, you sit down and you want to watch a movie. Jurassic Park is always up there on my list of like, what could we watch? Jurassic Park? Maybe. Right. My wife would say no every time, but I keep that on my list of like, if I'm going to watch a movie, that's one of them. And being there at the movie theater on a premiere night for Jurassic Park would have been such an epic experience. Would have been so cool.
I'll have you know, Isaac, if you ever suggested watch Jurassic Park to me, I would never tell you no. Just,
Thank you, Zayne.
Just Thank a little bump me a little higher than Holly on that. Just,
did you hear that, Holly? Did you hear that?
Exactly. Yeah. I'd never say no to Jurassic Park.
Holly, to be fair, indulges me with pretty much most of what I like to watch and do and stuff like that. So thank you. She will never listen to this, but thank you for watching all those things with me. Like up until this like past year, I think we've went to almost every single Marvel movie together. And then I went to the Marvels by myself because I was like, you know, like this might not be that good. Like you don't have to go if you don't want to. But it was actually not that bad. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But that was the one that I was like, you know what? You've earned this. You can stay home and read a book or, you know, do whatever,
right.
Do whatever you want to do.
You don't have to come to this one.
You don't have to come to this one with me. But yeah, she is my forever date to the movie theaters, and 95% of the movies that we go to are my choice. So thank you for coming to the movies with me all the time, Holly. And Zayne, I'm looking forward to going to some movies with you this summer. I think
absolutely. Always.
Summer blockbusters. Let's go. I'm getting like hyped. This is like a random episode that we didn't even review anything, and I'm getting hyped about going to summer blockbusters.
Get hyped. Let's go.
Okay. Putting it on the schedule. We're gonna go see Longlegs and Deadpool and Wolverine together.
Yes. Let's do it.
All right. Honestly, we got to look around for Deadpool and Wolverine tickets because at some of those big theaters, they're probably going to be pretty well packed at this point. I know at my small town theater, there are going to be seats available basically until the week of. So we got time, but we'll definitely talk about that post.
Gotta find something
post podcast.
Right.
So
that's right.
Yeah. So listeners, thank you so much for sticking with us for this long. Let us know what summer blockbusters you're looking forward to, and let us know what some of your favorite summer blockbusters that you went to were. You can hit us up at theinfinitybros.com. You can check out all of our social media to let us know, and you can email us at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com. And if you would please go and rate and review us on the podcast app of choice, that would be very appreciated by your Infinity Bros. Well, Zayne, thanks so much for being on this podcast full of shenanigans tonight.
Always. It's always a fun time. It's what we do here.
Always a good Isaac and Zayne mess around. Look at that. We talked for like an hour and a half on stuff that doesn't matter.
Right.
At all.
Right. Literally. It's what we're good at.
Thank you, listeners, wherever you're listening, however you're listening. Thank you so much for making us a part of your podcast experience. We love you 3000. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Infinity Bros podcast. You can find the Infinity Bros on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube at The Infinity Bros. You can also check out our website at theinfinitybros.com for links, reviews, and sweet merch. Feel free to send listener feedback via social media or email at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com.